The Leafs welcome the Panthers to Scotiabank Arena as they look to add to their lead in the Atlantic Division, and they got some help from an unlikely source. We'll discuss that and more here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, David Morassutti. Obviously, we're missing my right-hand man, Mike DeStefano. He is making his way back to Toronto from his vacation. So you got me solo for another day today before Mike makes his return. And we got a big matchup to tee up here. The Toronto Maple Leafs will take on the Florida Panthers at Scotiabank Arena. And if you listen to the last episode, I discussed how obviously this is a crucial matchup for the Leafs, but also one that I said that doesn't exactly make or break this Atlantic Division for a couple of reasons. And I said this all before the Panthers took on the Montreal Canadiens on Tuesday night, because that game played a big part kind of in the landscape of the Atlantic Division here. Well, there's kind of two reasons why I truly now believe that this game, while important for the Leafs, it still won't completely give them the clear in the Atlantic Division. Now, they are 2 points up on Florida right now because the Panthers picked up an overtime loss. I say pick up because it looked like it was going to be a victory for the Panthers. They were going to find a way to get the 2 points out of Montreal. That would have made it a 1 point difference between the Leafs and the Panthers. Nope. The Montreal Canadiens made a comeback in the third period, sent the game to overtime. Nick Suzuki with the overtime winner. And now the Panthers are stuck at 92 points instead of getting the 93 points. So the Leafs still hold a 2 point lead on the Panthers for first place in the Atlantic Division. So this game, a regulation win would be very, very nice. Two reasons. One, you get a 4 point cushion on the Panthers. You also, avoid the chance of the Panthers picking up those extra, loser points that we like to call them. And it kind of redeems himself a bit from, the last time these two teams met each other, where the Leafs could not find a way to beat the Panthers. And the Panthers have been slumping a bit here, right? 4-5-1 in their last 10 games. It's, again, I talked about it a lot on yesterday's show, but this is a Panthers team that is missing some crucial bodies. And I'll get to their lineup and how that kind of looks. But you got a Panthers team that's kind of reeling a little bit here. They're still a good team. Don't get me wrong. They haven't, you look at the games that they've won, the games that they've lost. They had the one stinker against the Capitals where they allowed 6 goals, but, a lot of close games. Montreal beat them twice. Got kudos to Montreal for getting, they're right in the playoff race. They are treating every game as like their last game right now. So that's, those are tough teams to play down the stretch here. And so getting those, Florida only got one of the possible 4 points in those 2 games against Montreal. That's a crucial swing in the Leafs' favor. But before we get to the whole Panther stuff, it's funny because we talked about the Panthers, how they're the team to watch in the Atlantic. They're going to be the Leafs' biggest challenger. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are like, hold my beer, because the Tampa Bay Lightning have had a big push. They have a big push right now. They've won their last 4 games. They're 7-2-1. They came off an absolute drubbing of the Utah Hockey Club, where they beat them 8-0. They beat the Islanders here on back-to-back games against the Islanders, who have. Wouldn't want, if you see some of the comments from Patrick, why he wouldn't want to be Anthony Duclair right now. He's getting a lot of smoke from the coach. But this Lightning team is right behind the Leafs, 93 points. So they're 1 point behind Toronto. The margin is just so slim right now. Andrei Vasilevsky's been playing some great hockey. Tampa's just got such a powerful lineup that you're always going to be weary of that team. So right now, the Leafs do have, they do have the Tampa Bay Lightning have that regulation win, one more than the Leafs do. The Leafs do have the regulation plus overtime winner at least. So really, this is where it comes key for the Leafs to pick up some victories in regulation. They have done that. The last 2 games they won have been in regulation. Very tough matchups. So this is a crucial point right now for the Leafs against the Panthers. Obviously, this is, even from the last time these two teams met, it's a little bit of a different roster for Florida. This is a team, as I said, hasn't exactly been hitting their stride the last little bit here, and so it's a matchup where the Leafs are going to want to show who they are as a contender, because people still have those concerns, especially their play at 5-on-5, and I'm going to show how these two teams very much are different at 5-on-5, and if I'm the Leafs, I think they've truly grasped the mentality that they need to have. That's fine and dandy. We need to see it. Okay, there's been a lot of talk about, this is going to be a playoff game. We heard that the last time these two teams played each other, and we saw a playoff game from the Leafs. Just not the ones that come away with a lot of success, right? And so they obviously understand getting that top seed gives them at least a little bit of a different, for at least round 1. You would get the more favorable matchup of not having to play at Tampa, not having to play at Florida in round 1. So I think that has to be kind of the mindset, is you got to make it as easy as we can on ourselves. Okay. And so, we'll see how these two teams, when it's all said and done, who comes away on top. So on the other side, I'm going to go through the matchup. I'm going to look at, where the Leafs currently rank in a lot of ways against Florida. Why 5-on-5 play will likely be a key part of this game. We know there's penalty, power play, penalty kill. The Leafs at 5-on-5, that's going to be a big part of this matchup. So I'm going to discuss just kind of by looking at the numbers. We'll preview the lineup, get a little idea of how Brad Marchand has been doing since making the since being traded to Florida. That and more here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keeping you feeling fuller longer. I like the no shell variety. It's good if you want to take something to your desk or you're going on the road and you don't want to have to crack open every shell. It gets very tough and it makes a big mess. That's why the no shell variety is a perfect snack to take out. But if you like to crack open every single shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are always a classic, and they got some great options. If you want to go with no salt, they got unsalted. If you want to go lightly salted, you can also do that as well. So get snacking and cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Want to welcome you back here to the Locked On Leafs podcast. David Morassutti solo for today. Mike DeStefano will return by the time, hopefully, the Leafs and Panthers play this game. And so next we're going to kind of look at the matchup between these two teams, because there's a lot of, we know where Florida has always been, right? They're a team that's the last few years with Paul Maurice as head coach, they have been in Atlantic Division, I guess, powerhouse. You can call them that. Every year, they're going to be near the top, right? Ever since that playoff series against Boston, something's kind of clicking with that team, and they really found their groove. So 5 versus 5 goals for, expected goals for has been, it's very lopsided in a lot of ways. 54.65% expected goals for at 5-on-5 for the Panthers, 48.76 for the Leafs. that is something that you can't ignore. Okay, this is why the Panthers have been so good this year. They're very tight checking, right? They make the most of their opportunities at 5-on-5. The Leafs, that's still an area that if you're talking, if you're asking me an area that this team needs to work on between now and the end of the season, you got to find a way to score more at 5-on-5. It's great that the power play has been buzzing. At one point, it was at 24%. It's gone all the way up to 26.2%, which doesn't sound like a major increase, but when you consider where this team was months ago, it's truly remarkable how much better the power play has been. And if you remember the last game the Leafs played the Panthers, the power play didn't exactly live up to its potential. And it was the Panthers power play that gave the Leafs fits 2 power play goals that they allowed in that game. So penalty kill. The Leafs have to find a way to, if you're going to play this game mostly at 5-on-5, you can't let that odd 1 or 2 power play opportunities that go the Panthers' way to be a real problem for you. In a tight game that we are expecting this likely to be a tight game. So let's go through the Leafs lineup. Not expecting any changes based on what we saw at practice today. Nyes, Matthews, Marner, McMahon, Tavares, Nylander are your top 6. You got Lawton, Domi, Yarncroc, and then Lawrence, Holmberg. Oh, I got Holmberg there twice, but it's supposed to be Lawrence, Kampf, and Holmberg. Holmberg can just play twice. It's fine. You got on defense, Morgan Rielly, Brandon Carlo, McCabe, Tanev, Simon Benoit, Ekman Larson. Stolarz is expected to get the start in game 1. And one thing we heard today, obviously this is going to be the first time Brandon Carlo will go up against Brad Marchad since the trade, since both players were traded out of Boston. Definitely probably going to be weird. And Brad Marchand's going to take maybe a little extra pleasure in going up against a former teammate and showing, try to get under his skin a little bit here. So where is Brad Marchand playing? Let's pull up the Panthers lineup right now. You got Carter Verhaeghe, Alexander Barkov, and Sam Reinhart. They make up your top line there for Florida. You got Semiskevich, Bennett, Marchand as the second line. So you got the Bennett-Marchand duo that it's going to be a pain in the rear to play against. You got Luosterainen and Lundell and Boqvist as your third line. You got Greer, Sturm, and Rodriguez as your fourth line. So pretty good 4 line. Obviously, the big missing part here is Matthew Tkachuk. So you can probably bet 1,000% it is going to be Matthew Tkachuk with Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand come the playoffs. Yuck, gross. That's why you don't want to play the Panthers in the first round. Then you have Gustav Forsling and Seth Jones. Seth Jones, the new addition there. You have Nico Mikkola and Nick Schmidt as the second pairing. You got Bjornfot and Balinskis as the third pairing. And then Sergei Bobrovsky did not start in the first game against Montreal. He is going to start the second half of the back-to-back. So, there was a column by Steve Simmons where he got talking to John Cooper and Paul Maurice about the Atlantic Division. And Paul Maurice was just like, who cares about the Atlantic? Who gets first? Because guess what? At some point, if you make it out of round 1, well, first off, round 1, you're either going to be playing one of the Ontario teams or one of the Florida teams. Either one. Round 2, you're going to have to play. You're playing good teams in either round. So he tried to throw a little cold water. But I'm sure if you ask a lot of people, having that, home ice in the first round, being able to get at least the not great team out of the 4 that you could potentially, the 3 you could play against out of the 4, you do not want to have to go up against the better one of the 2. Like right now, Florida would play Tampa in round 1, and it'd be in Tampa to start. I know that Florida has had Tampa's number in the playoffs the last few years, but I don't know. This time around, Tampa's found some good things that have been going on. Although, a bit of an easier schedule too. So I don't know. You got to take it with a little grain of salt, but I still think that's going to be a tough matchup, whoever plays them round 1. All right, time to get to our locked on player of the game to watch for the Panthers, and it has to be one Bradley Marchand. 21 goals this year, 48 points in 64 games. So a bit of a dip in the production we've seen. Obviously, age and the Bruins were just really bad this year. So not a surprise. He has 1 point in 3 games with the Panthers, an assist on a goal with Sam Benagol in overtime. So he's just coming back from an injury. I didn't expect Brad Marchand to be a player that, you know, was going to be lighting it up right away. We've seen some good things from him since he's come back from the injury. Very curious to see how what type of impact he'll have on this game, because Brad Marchand loves to play against the Leafs, and the Leafs sure love playing against Brad Marchand. So we'll see how much of the antics he'll try to put up in this game. So we'll see. It's a big matchup, obviously, and I just want to see the Leafs. This is a game where you want to just show your, the form of we care about trying to pin down the Atlantic Division. We want to also chance that maybe, let's say, Tampa were to move up over the Leafs. Don't give the Panthers that much breathing room where they can overtake you, right, for second in the Atlantic Division. So even if first is the goal for the Leafs, but second is would be the secondary prize, a consolation prize, is you don't want to drop all the way down to third. Things change very quickly in this division. So if you're the Leafs, that's something you are definitely going to have on your mind here as we get into the final stretch of the season here. All right. Next year on the Locked On Leafs podcast, I want to get through a couple of things that have been going around in the NHL, namely Alex Ovechkin. He is getting that much closer to setting the new NHL goal record. Where is he at? We'll discuss that. Where do we think he might score that elusive, that big time new goal record, where he could possibly set it? We'll discuss that next year on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. I started using Monarch just to kind of gauge where I was spending, where my budgeting and what I was taking in, where I was going out, how much am I net every month, where is the money going? And it just makes it so much easier to see everything in one place. I don't have to go check my bank account in one app. Then I go check my credit cards in another one, or have to log in on my computer to check on something else. It's all done, all convenient in one area. And if you have a partner you want to collaborate with, then you can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Want to welcome you back here to the Locked On Leafs podcast, David Morassutti, and we are very, very close. I feel like we're in every game you watch Alexander Ovechkin, as the spotlight gets brighter on this guy, it's not phasing him, and it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. This is a guy who has thrived in the spotlight his entire NHL career. Well, the Great Chase is down to 4. He is 4 away from breaking Gretzky's record. He scored against the Boston Bruins tonight, and now I have at work we have a pool. Where would Alex Ovechkin score? Which goaltender would Alex Ovechkin score his record-breaking 895th goal against? And so my pick is Pierre Kochetkov of the Carolina Hurricanes. See, I almost got talking so much Panthers. I got Panthers on the brain. So when I saw that he scored against the Bruins tonight, I'm like, I'm like trying to look at the schedule here. I'm like, well, they play the Hurricanes next. Okay, I can get away with him scoring a goal or two there, because in a couple of nights later on April 10th, so they play in the 4 games coming up, they play the Carolina Hurricanes twice. Selfishly, save yourself the opportunity to get on April 10th. You got the Hurricanes in Washington. What better scene? Good chance, hopefully, Kochetkov is starting in that game. Now, I also had a second option, and I didn't know it was allowed initially until somebody else. Actually, it was Luke Fox who did this. We have 2 different pools. We have one bracket and a second bracket. He picked empty net, and I'm like, you can do that? I'm picking empty net too then. So I got empty net and Kochetkov. So I feel pretty good that, okay, let's say he gets, maybe 1 or 2 against the Hurricanes. They really push it against the Blackhawks. Maybe empty net. I can see it. I can really see an empty net being the goal that Ovechkin scores it on. If you go on FanDuel, I don't know if they have it set up yet. They probably do. The FanDuel thinks of everything, but I'm sure you can check where how he scores. I'm actually checking the FanDuel sports book right now. You can do it on your computer. You can do it on your phone. So right now, the great chase. Alex Ovechkin scored 895th career goal during this season. Right now, it's at minus 260. So probably need to get it way back when to get some good underdog odds on that. So you got a lot of great props. Players who would assist on the goal. You have Dylan Strome, his line mate, at minus 140. Pretty good bet right there. Goalie. The goalie, Ovechkin, scores the record against. Empty net, my choice in my pool, plus 290. So there's a bit of value there. I don't see Kochetkov right now, unless hopefully he didn't get hurt. Now I'm a little worried that my Russian goaltender has been yanked, or he hasn't really been playing. So I'm just going to kind of look at the game logs right now. Oh, no, he's been playing. Okay. He hasn't been playing well. The bodes a little well for me, maybe that he does start. Maybe he gets, I'm going to say lit up, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. He's not currently on there. Shame on you, FanDuel, for not having that as an option. You can also bet the team that he scores against right now. The Blue Jackets and the Islanders are the top 2 odds. The Blackhawks are the team they play on Friday. There's some value there, plus 3,000 on the Blackhawks if you think he gets it there. Carolina Hurricanes are a pretty good bet too, as well. So you can also say the method that he scores a goal, even strength, power play. Power play is at plus 162. That's going to be prime opportunity for Ovechkin to get those goals. So, yeah, it's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be like, I don't remember, obviously, some of the other records broken. The only one I remember in terms of a new record, long-standing record, was wins. Goalie wins in the NHL when Martin Brodeur did it, and he passed Patrick Waugh. That was the closest I think I remember of being around a player on a chase like that. I remember when Brodeur did it, the whole phenomenon behind it. And I think this is why this chase has been so great. I'll definitely, once he gets within 2 goals, I will definitely be watching every Capitals game. If the Leaf games happen, I'll have the Capitals on a second screen because, you don't want to miss out on history. And that's why we're talking about it. And we're going to have a lot of feedback on it here at the Locked On Podcast Network. Everyone is kind of giving their thoughts on it and how, Ovechkin's a record that maybe some thought would never be broken. Ovechkin, with the way this season has gone, just a phenomenal story for that. So I would say, really keep an eye on how all that's going, because it is a great story. John Tavares was named one of the stars of the month for March, so great for him. He had a great month of March. So I give him a lot of props there. And I believe that's all I wanted to bring up here on the news and notes. The NHL deal for the new broadcast deal. You guys know I work for Sportsnet. I don't have anything official to say about that. I'm not in those sort of conversations and loops. So we know it's been well reported by a lot of sides on this. Obviously, it's a big coup for Rogers, for Sportsnet to get the rights. I know everyone has their opinions on the broadcast. I will not be sharing my opinions. All I'll say is I always say it's your opinions are valid. Okay, you're the ones who are watching. You're the audience. Your feedback is crucial in any of these situations, right? When it comes to giving your thoughts on how broadcast is delivered, how we do things here at the Locked On Podcast. As somebody who writes, I look at comments on writing as well. You only get better if you're allowing those who are critiquing you take the critique honestly. All right. As long as it's fair, you got to take it and you got to find a way to learn from it. So, so that'll be something to watch, especially with revenues going up. The NHL is obviously getting a pretty good increase in value from the broadcast deal. So all just means salary cap keeps going up, baby. Salary cap keeps going up, and that only helps a team like Toronto, who have some things they're going to have to figure out, especially this upcoming summer. We've already discussed that quite a bit. I'm not going to bring that up here again. I want to thank you all for listening and for supporting the show. Make sure you go and subscribe to Locked On Leafs podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you're getting notified every time a video drops on YouTube. And make sure you go and tell all your friends to do the same. Keep yourself in the loop. Everything about the Leafs. We're going to keep pushing right until the playoffs. And the next one, we will discuss, hopefully, a Leafs victory in regulation. Not just a victory. Give us a regulation win, Leafs, over the Florida Panthers. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.